Hey teachers, wondering how to set up your small group reading area and what essential tools you need to get started? Today I'm going to show you what to put in your reading corner and how to set yourself up to be ready for your students on day one. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I'm Brenda Tejeda and I taught kindergarten and first grade for over 17 years, and I love all things literacy and sharing things with teachers like you. So make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss any of my videos. Today we're going to talk about your small group reading area. Now if you teach kindergarten or first grade, you know that we have to minimize waiting time for our students so that they don't get distracted. If you have your reading corner that's not so organized, you're missing tools at, when you need something, it's not right there for you to grab, then it's going to be hard to maintain your students' attention during your lesson. So I'm going to show you how you can set up your reading area in a way that works so that your students are focused and with you the whole time. I'm going to show you some must-have tools and some fun tools, so let's get started. First of all, you'll need a space, right? So try to pick a space in your classroom that doesn't have too much traffic and is not going to be next to any very noisy centers. So when I planned my centers, I made sure that my reading center or listening center was closer to my small group reading table so that I wouldn't hear those students and we wouldn't get distracted with each other. Here's a picture of my classroom. Unfortunately, the center is not set up because it's after I packed up for the summer, but you can see the horseshoe table is in a corner. It has some wall space for helpful charts, and it has some shelving too for storage. Once you've found your spot, you're going to need some instructional materials. Now you don't need a lot, you only need a couple to really get started. I like to, of course, have a tabletop whiteboard. Now this is a very simple one, you probably have a better one, but I like to have a magnetic whiteboard in one side, and then I like the ones that have a little pocket chart on the other side so that you can sort cards, build sentences, and everybody at your table will be able to see it. Now besides your whiteboard, the only other must-have tool is our magnetic letters. So you can have lots of different tools and some of them are amazing, but if you have a whiteboard and magnetic letters, you can do a whole lot. Let me show you how I like to keep my magnetic letters. I use this cookie tray from the Dollar Tree, and I have this insert so that we can quickly find the letters that we need without having to fish through a box. I stack them up for my students. I only have 2 here, but I can stack up as many as I have students in that group. I usually have 5 or 6 stacked up. If you don't have enough, you can have just partners work with each other. And depending on the letters that you have, sometimes they stick to the bottom of the tray. I love these letters because they don't do that. They're like foam. But if you have those letters, just put a piece of cardstock between them when you stack them, or you can glue some felt on the back. I have this insert for you free, so make sure you check the description for the link to that. And I have a few different versions actually, including this one where you can, if you have smaller magnetic letters, they can place them there, and then you can actually use the tray itself, this space, for building words. Now let's move on to your teacher basket. Now besides the obvious pens and markers, erasers, you're going to want an alphabet chart handy to review. You want any sound cards that you use. I like to have little ones too, so you're going to want a deck of those. High frequency word cards to review as well. And I like to keep a folder of my schedule, my groups, who was in my groups, exactly what I was teaching, my lesson plans in a folder. Now some teachers like to have this in a binder. That's great if it works for you. I like the ease of folders so that I can travel around with the folders and have a folder for each group. Let me know if you want me to make a video of how I set up my schedule and my note-taking system, and I will link it right here when I post it, so make sure that you subscribe. Next, there are some key storage areas you're going to need. So hopefully you have some shelving, but if you don't, you can probably make some using crates or any other furniture that you have. Let's take a look at each section. Let's talk about student baskets. Now, I like to have everything that students are going to need with me at the back table, just to save on transition time. I don't want students to start looking for their pencil boxes. Maybe some of them are dull, missing crayons. One of them will drop the pencil box and we have to spend a couple minutes cleaning it up. So it's just so helpful to have everything that students need with you. The only thing that students bring with them to me is their reading book baggie, which has their books that we've read before, any poems, their fluency flashcards, and a reading notebook. So in my student basket, I have crayons, and here's a tip for crayons. You don't need all the colors, so don't just dump out the box of crayons. You want to be strategic and have Just the basic colors, red, yellow, blue, green, and I like to have pink and orange because they're good for highlighting. They're still light colors, and you just want to have like 5 of each color so that you're not wasting time looking for a specific color. You don't want to fish through gray and black and brown and purple, so just have those colors in your crayon box. Of course, you're going to need pencils. And then you will want some whiteboard markers and erasers. If you don't have erasers, you can use little pieces of cloth, socks that students have donated to our class. We've used those as erasers as well. And if you have student whiteboards, that's great, but I love these even better. I think I got these at the Dollar Tree years back. When we write in small groups, it's usually not more than a couple of words or a sentence, so these are just the perfect size. And we also have whisper phones so students can hear themselves reading. Another option is to have these little boxes for each student. You can put the crayons in here. You can put the little golf pencils that are just the perfect size for them. And then if you want to keep like little cubes or little manipulatives so that you don't have to hand them out each time, that works too. Okay, let's talk about the group basket. Now, when I first started, I just had a color-coded folder for each group that I kept all in one basket. But after years, you'll accumulate lots of different games and cards and activities that you can do. So I moved on to having a basket for each group, and in there I had my folder, which had my notes and my lesson plans for that group. It also had the book that we were going to use that week. But in the basket, I also included specific activities or games that I wanted to do with that group. And I had the sound cards and high frequency word cards that I had already covered so that we can quickly review them at the beginning of our lesson. Now, if you don't have enough copies of your sound cards or your high frequency word cards, of course you can use the main set that you have in your teacher basket, but this is helpful, especially when you don't have lesson plans ready to go. So if you're short on time one day and you don't have something ready for your group with a specific text, you can just pull the basket and have a lesson focusing on fluency, rereading those familiar texts and those sound cards and word cards. Now, I just mentioned some activities that you might have accumulated over the years, and so you definitely want a space in your reading corner for these activities. And I like to have them by skill. I used to have so many activities in my cabinets and closets, but they were out of sight, so out of mind, and I forgot that I had them and never used them. So putting these at my reading corner in baskets organized by the skill really just put them at my fingertips. So whenever I wanted to work on CBC words or silent E or digraphs, I would just pull that basket and do a quick activity with my group. One activity that you can do for any skill is word mapping. So I like to keep a word mapping mat in these plastic sleeves so students can just write and wipe. But I'm going to just take it out of here so that you can see it better without the glare. And this is great for high frequency sight words. So you write the word at the top, make sure students understand what it means, so go over the vocabulary, tap the sounds in the word, and then write each sound in one box. So each grapheme or letters that make the sound goes in one box. Then they can write the word 3 times or use it in a sentence. This particular mat is in my phonics and fluency decodable lesson, so I'll be sure to add that in the description below. And finally, you will want some fun tools. Now, like I said before, you really don't need a whole lot for your small group reading corner, but sometimes your students will get a little restless, so it's fun to introduce some new tools to get them to boost their motivation a little bit. So you'll want a little space in your reading corner for things like pointers, or my favorite, transparent bingo chips, highlighters, little cars, cubes, mini erasers, really any, whoops, I dropped a chip, any manipulative that your students can use to blend when reading. And if you're wondering what your other students are doing while you're meeting with small groups, make sure to check out this video where I share 5 tips to help manage your centers and small group reading time. But before you go, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss my next video, which is going to go over exactly what you can teach in your very first reading lesson. And don't forget to grab your free magnetic tray inserts, and I'll link that in the description as well. Thank you so much for watching. See you soon.